The skidding in X-plane has been a problem for quite a while. On dry runways, the default skid sound is quite annoying, and to be honest, after flying an airplane for a long time, I haven't really ever experienced much of that skidding sound except in very extreme conditions. Unfortunately, you can get it pretty easily in X-plane using rudder pedals that are obviously it's very difficult to be sure you're not oversteering, I guess, with these consumer rudder pedals that we use on our simulators. Also, the toe brakes, which measure, instead of measuring pressure, they measure angular movement of the pedals. It's very difficult to apply evenly. So it's pretty easy to get the squealing sound. Now, the latest Beta 2 version of X-plane 11 seems to have reduced it slightly, so maybe they're working on that. But I will show you a solution. First, let's try to show you what the sound we're talking about. I'll just add a little power here and get some speed up, and then just make some really bad turns here. I think you got to. Initially, doesn't seem to be so bad. But I'm going to stop the airplane now. So that's the sound I'm talking about. Now the best way to get rid of that, I'm going to quit X-plane here for a second and look at the X-plane folder right here. And in the X-plane folder under resources, there is a sounds folder, and then go to the contact folder, and you can see there's a skid dry and a skid wet. Now my solution was to take the skid dry and just put an X or something in front of that, change that file name, and then take the skid wet and duplicate it. So I'll copy and I'll paste it again, and you can see I got skid wet copy. Now I'm going to rename that to skid dry. Okay, now I have a new dry, and I have this X skid dry, so keep it around just to show you the difference. Here's the skid dry now. Can you hear that? Just a little hissing noise. Comparing that to the old skid dry, it's much less noticeable. So it's basically the same as the skid wet. You could also use the rolling ground, I guess. I think it might be duplicating it though. For the sound might already be there if you're rolling down the runway and you skid. So I think the best way. The other option is to form another WAV file that has no sound at all, and I think there might be some on xplane.org available. But I found this to be a fairly simple way to do it. Now I'm going to relaunch here in just a second, and I'll show you the result. Okay, so now here we are back at the takeoff point. I'm going to try just what I did before, but this time you'll see the difference. Going to add some power, get it up to about 50 knots or so. They're going to apply some brakes. So you can see that eliminates that screeching noise. You really, because of the other noises, you really can't hear the effects of that dry, wet runway skid. But you do lose one thing. You could see when I first hit the brakes, there was a chirp, and you get that for landing. But beyond that, you're not going to get, when you're taxiing around, you're not going to get that skid. Now, if Laminar Research actually gets this nailed, you can always change that file back, eliminate the new skid dry and put the new skid in. Just one warning: if you get an upgrade notice and you decide to upgrade, when you're upgrading, it will ask you if you want to replace that file, and if you do, you'll be back to the standard setup. You'll lose the file that you've made, and you'll have to go through this process again. I don't know if that's helpful. It was for me, because I was very annoyed by that screeching noise, and no matter how careful I was with the rudder pedals, I couldn't seem to avoid it at some times. And I just thought it was better to not have it. The disadvantage is, though, if you really do fly the airplane poorly and put it in a situation where it should be skidding and making the noise, you're not going to get the noise. Anyway, that's helpful, good. If not, thanks for your time. Anyway.